Is it fair to say we don't know what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be in 2024 and beyond? They were one of the best stories last year. There's no way around it. Baker Mayfield surprised us all. There were so many people that were making fun of this quarterback room because it was Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield. And if you would have told the biggest Baker Mayfield supporters that not only were they going to win the division, they were going to beat the Eagles in a wild card game, and to finish it off, waiting for Baker Mayfield at home was a $100 million over 3-year contract extension, they would have called you a liar. There's no way around it. Like, I didn't expect this from the Buccaneers, but what's next for them? It's a fair question to ask because they bring back a lot of the key pieces, re-signing Antoine Winfield, re-signing Baker Mayfield, re-signing Mike Evans, all good moves, all understandable moves, but does it really move the needle what this team is at its core? Because they won the NFC South, they now have a much more difficult schedule. Like, that's just the truth of it. On top of the fact that the division, I think, got better, especially the Falcons, and you have to play them twice a year. And so when I look at the betting market, I see that they're a 7.5 win total. It's understandable. I don't see a world where they make it back to the playoffs, to be transparent. And historically, what I'm saying kind of backs it up. Most years, if you go look at the AFC and the NFC, 1 to 2 teams on each side tend to not make the playoffs the following season. We saw it with the Giants a couple of years ago. We saw it with the Seahawks a couple of years ago. And it's probably going to be the Bucs because, let's be honest, everyone loves the Packers, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Rams, the Lions. The odd one out is the Buccaneers, and it's hard to see a world where they get back into that same position. One of my biggest concerns for the Buccaneers, ironically, is Baker Mayfield. Now, hear me out. He had a great year. I don't want to discredit that, but yeah, one thing that he has not been able to do in his entire career, and it's just the truth, has been consistency. Now, he has not had consistency in his situation, and that really hasn't changed. He now is changing his offensive coordinator again. And so it's a bold assumption to say that Baker Mayfield, a guy that has been inconsistent his entire career, is all of a sudden going to be that guy. Now, maybe he could do it. He looks like he's finally comfortable in a situation that wants to support him. But even then, I think we know what his ceiling is, and we just saw it last year. Winning a potential playoff game and then, playing solid in a divisional round. It's hard for me to see a world where he just, does that again. But that's not to say that the quarterback extension was a bad idea. This isn't Madden. Like, I can't just say, you should have just gone and traded for Caleb Williams and then called it a day and got rid of Baker Mayfield because he's a younger quarterback that has a lot more upside. Politics and football and decision-making, there's so much more that goes into it than just moving players around, even if you want to say it's just a business. And, Baker earned that contract. Just look at guys like Geno Smith and Daniel Jones. As much as people want to hate the Daniel Jones one, and I don't agree to it, the Baker one was well deserved. But now Baker's going to have to play much more difficult defenses and in a stretch of games that is just brutal on that schedule. And as much as I love the creamsicles and how he's comfortable and the swagger he brings to the table, that all can get stale when you're not winning games. And I don't know if they're going to win a lot of football games this year, especially if we're taking another step back and looking at the roster as a whole. This is an aging roster. No way around it. Levante David, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin is getting up there in age, and he's dealing with a lot of injuries. At some point, these older players are going to take a step back. And I think the secondary got worse. Outside of Antoine Winfield, I don't feel good about the moves they made in the secondary. And even then, I feel like a bad secondary can be covered up if you have a great front seven. And I don't think they have this high-end front seven, especially at the edge rusher position, because I was lower on Chris Braswell, to be honest. I don't know if it's going to be able to cover up that cornerback room, and that's what worries me the most about this defense. Now, to be fair, Todd Bowles, he's a defensive head coach. I have some faith in that. But moving off of Dave Canales on the offensive end and expecting Rachaad White to have that same level of production in the running back room for a guy that was very inefficient as a running back, it's hard to see a world where he's able to do that for multiple seasons. So in a world where they're in that 7, 8, maybe 9 win range, even less than that, maybe they win 6 or 5. That's the range that they're in. What's next for them? Because the 2025 quarterback class doesn't look great, and maybe quarterback's not the issue, but you're kind of stuck in this middle of the pack, and I think that's the worst place to be in for the NFL. No way around it. You may be fine with it. If you're a Buccaneers fan and you're fine with just a couple of wild card wins one year, then being out of the playoffs the next year, you're basically turning into the New Orleans Saints. If you're a Buccaneers fan, what are you going to do to swing for the fences again? I have the feeling from when I talk to Buccaneers fans, they feel content with where they're at just because, they won a ring a couple years ago. It wasn't too long ago, but at some point you're going to blink and be like, damn, this was 10 years ago. What have we done since? Not a whole lot. We've been kind of middle of the pack, and it's a dangerous place to be in. And I feel like they're about to swing back down to that 7-10 range, not be bad enough for a high-end draft pick. So what's the game plan moving forward? Because now you're locked in with Baker Mayfield for a couple years. Now he could be a great bridge quarterback, but the roster's going to be getting older. So that's why I ask, what is the game plan for the Buccaneers? What should the expectation be for this upcoming season? And this is the scary thing with teams that, surpass expectations. The Giants a couple years ago, they beat the Vikings. They get smacked in the divisional round. And then they get to the next offseason. They're like, okay, that's the standard. We need to surpass that and, maybe go for an NFC championship. The Bucs get to the divisional round. They play the Lions really difficult. What's the next step? Is this the bar that they need to reach, is that divisional round? And I think that is so unlikely that they reach that. So it's going to be disappointing if this is the bar that you are setting for your team. And not to say you should be rooting for your team to do bad, but maybe a disaster season isn't the worst thing for the Buccaneers, to be honest. You can, maybe sell at the trade deadline, get off of some of these pieces. You still have some young players on this team. I like Graham Barton. I like Antoine Winfield a ton. Like, he was one of the best safeties last year. If not, you can make the argument the best safety in the NFC easily. And to be honest, I believe in 2 years you could get off of the Baker contract, and I'm projecting a little bit. There's a guy in Tennessee, Nico time. I don't know. Like, at some point, I don't want to get hyper fixated on the quarterback, but you're either going to have an elite roster like the 49ers and a guy that can just make a couple plays and be consistent, unlike Baker, or you're going to have to swing for the fences at the quarterback position in a couple years, because I don't think Baker's the long-term answer to go win a Super Bowl, and that should always be the goal. I don't care what anyone else says. You are there to win rings. Now, ownership may disagree with it, but that's how I'm going to view it, is you're either going to go try win a ring, and what's the path to get there? Is it going to be 8 years and you play 3 years with Baker Mayfield and then you swing for the fences at the quarterback? Or are you going to go try to win with Baker because you guys just made the divisional round and a couple plays could have bounced your way, and then all of a sudden you're in the NFC Championship? But thank you. If you are at this point, you're at the end of the video, thank you for watching Rush the Field. All I can ever ask for you is to give me a chance to talk football with you. I love talking with you guys. This channel, there's a lot of new subscribers, and I appreciate every single one of you. And like I said, just give me another shot to talk. And if you're returning and you are one of those new subscribers, welcome back, man. Thank you guys so much. And if you guys got any video ideas, if there's any topics around the world of football, college football, NFL, I love talking about it. I'll make a video. I'll respond to your comment. Anything. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm rambling. I appreciate you guys so much, and have a fantastic day.